All right, I am live. I am live. Good day, good morning, soon to be afternoon. This is May in the morning. I had to reschedule because I had a very busy day um, yesterday. But the main thing is this probably will only be 30 minutes. I'm going to drop the link in case anybody has anything to say. Let me see how to do this. Guest. And I'm going to do, let me see, invite guest, copy link. I'm going to drop this in case anybody has any commentary. I'll take criticism, any thoughts. I'm open to it. So there's the link for anybody who may have any commentary. I'm talking about today. What is the topic? The topic is real coons versus self-hating rat-coons. That's what I'm discussing today. Why am I discussing this? It's come to my attention. It has come to my attention that a lot of people, it's been an interesting phenomenon. The idea that people come online and they get to be whoever they want to be. I get it. It's one of the perks of the social media. We see people transform themselves into whatever they choose to be on Instagram. I mean, all people have. Good morning. Good morning. All people have to do on the internet is provide pictures to create back spaces to present ideas and concepts, costuming, if you will. And so I'm very aware that people can be whoever they want to be. You said I will reply. I'm at work, but I will reply. Oh yeah, surely, surely. So I put the link up for anybody who has some thoughts. If they would like to present any ideas to me, challenge me in any way, or question me, I'm for it. I want to refer to this before I go into this idea of comparing the real coons versus the self-hating raccoons. Um, I did a interview and conversation and discussion with my one of my childhood friends about like last week sometime. Okay, so I'm making some reference to that, and I would invite anybody who's curious on what I'm actually talking about when it comes to being a real coon to just peruse that. Listen a bit. It's an hour and 46 minutes. Um, and what you will find is my friend and I are discussing what it's like to grow up black in a white utopia and having had no knowledge of real understanding of race. You never gain exactly a sense of identity racially, and it's problematic. So that's what we talked about and how to adjust and adapt to the real world once you have to face reality and realize that the world sees a race and this is where you came from. That gives you the mirror. Okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this. I understand that people, come on the internet and they can be who they want to be. People can costume, they can cosplay, they can become something brand new that they've never been. All you get is images that are you know, I guess you would say created images, um, designed, right? Sometimes even designed to deceive. And all you have, all you can go on is what people present. Okay. Um, Only people who are super interested look past that to prove that you are what you say you are. Now, of course, if you present yourself as an expert on, uh, finances or something else, certain some industry, people will expect you to actually have results, receipts. And because they may be spending their money and investing their money on your products, they absolutely do want to find out if you are who you say you are. So that's justified when it comes to you being a consumer of goods or services from somebody online who's professing themselves to be an expert or knowledgeable. That's understood. But what I'm talking about today is something that has no profit involved. Can y'all hear me pretty good? Is the sound good or is it boring? I need to know before I go further because I hate when I go back and listen, and it's boring. Can somebody let me know if the sound is good? I think it should be. Let me know if the sound is good. So I'm going to start with the real raccoons. This phenomenon I've come across in not only just social media, but in the media itself. And I've done some research recently because I'm trying to find out, are people really who they say they are? Do they really come from certain backgrounds to justify their perspectives? Or is this a choice? And so I would start out by simplifying and saying that a real coon doesn't have a choice. They're born into circumstances and in environments where they're unaware of race. Okay. They're unaware and they don't develop an identity tied to race. That is a real coon versus a self hating rat coon. And I say rat coon because most of the people who take this perspective on are people who've come from the bottom rungs of society. Finally true sounds perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that. Finally true. Thank you. Okay. So there's a difference. Now I want to say this first and foremost before I begin, because I have it all worked out. And I'm gonna flow. I'm gonna do one and then I'm gonna compare it to the other. All right. I want to say this first and foremost. I believe, me personally, when I'm speaking, when I talk about socioeconomics and I talk about poverty and someone being poor, being from the hood, being from the trailer park, etc., etc. When I speak on those things, I want it to be understood that I am not saying that there is a value placed on that human being by me. I do not think access, money, resources, and all of those things make someone better or someone less than as a human being having value. Okay, I want to make sure I'm clear about that. But we have to face the reality of socioeconomic circumstances. We have to face it. We can't pretend it away. Especially in the Black community, it's very, very like taboo to discuss, to talk about the differences between people in socioeconomic brackets. It's like people want to say, no, we're all the same. No, we're not. No, we're fucking not. We're not the same. Same difference does not mean one is better than the other. It's just different. But for some reason, people who are Black place a value system on people who have more money and more access in society. That's something that we do. And because we're uncomfortable with what we do and how we see people and value people, then we think that we can't discuss boldly socioeconomic differences. When you say hood, everybody's on edge. What you trying to say about the hood? What you trying to judge? Why you trying to judge the hood? Why you trying to judge the ghetto? There's no judgment. It is what it is. It is what it is. Okay. So there's no value placed on human beings based on race. Black is not better than white. White is not better than black. That's something people do. People are people. As a world traveler, I know that people are people. So let me begin talking about a real coon. Now, first and foremost, let me tell you something. A real coon is someone, and I'm saying real, and I should call it, you know what, let me not say real. Let me say a natural born coon. That's the better term, which is authentic, which is real. A natural born coon is born into an environment. I'm giving a definition here. A natural born coon is born into an environment. Okay? It's the environment and the circumstances that give this person a natural inclination as they are growing up to be free of race in their mind. I said in their mind. They are born free of identity as it relates to racial circumstances. In plain English, a lot of people who are natural born coons do not fucking know that they are in a white environment. They do not know that they are Black and they're in a white environment. And they don't know what that means. They're not aware. So there's a lack of awareness. A natural born coon is not someone who chooses to be who they are. Their environment creates them. They are created from the environment and the society that they grow up in. They are unaware of race and they are absent racial identity. Again, I would refer to W.E.B. Du Bois. He spoke on this growing up in an all white environment. And it wasn't until that one fine day That's when the veil is lifted, that you become aware of difference. This is the difference between a natural born coon and a fake coon, a rat coon. It's a difference, major difference. One is a choice, and the other one, the person is completely unaware, unprepared to deal with race and difference as it relates to how people see you racially in society. You are unaware. So when I talk about environment, let me tell you what the environment looks like. The environment that a natural born coon is born into, it tends to be that such a person who is a natural born coon is born into a predominantly white environment. They're born into a predominantly white environment in which the socioeconomic status of that black person, that young, youthful black person, is the same as the environment, I mean, the socioeconomic situation as the white folk. I'm going to speak plainly. So if you're black and you are upper middle class, and you are in an environment, born into a place, notice that from the earliest time of your life, you have no other recollection than white faces surrounding you. You don't know anything else that's normal to you. All the people around you, you and everyone around you, you are on the same socioeconomic class. You operate in the same spaces. Okay? There's no difference. If white folks have access to this, that, da, 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 you have access to this, that, da, 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 right? If they're going to private school, you're going to private school. All right? If they're taking senior trips out to France and going to Paris, you're going too. You are not left behind socioeconomically. This is the difference. So when you were born into an environment where all things are equal and there's no socioeconomic difference, there's no haves and have-nots. Everybody, for the most part, is economically advantaged. You grow up with advantage. You grow up with resources. You grow up with opportunities. Okay? You grew up in an environment where you are protected from the harshness of life. You are unaware. You are just as cheesy and unaware of any problems or anything problematic. And the people, because of their socioeconomic condition, okay, white folk, they don't let you know that you don't belong for a long time. They don't show you any difference for a long time, for a very long time. You don't see any difference. There's no cues, right? Nobody tells you, hey, you're black. So you're just floating around in the world being a person. You're unaware, okay? And so from childhood, you develop naturally like a human being would. It's called proximity. If you are black and you are in an all-white environment, you go to school with white kids, your private school is full of white kids. The soccer team you're on, the Girl Scout troop, the ballet, the gymnastics, everything you do, you are surrounded by whiteness. Guess what? Nobody ever told you anything different than you are with your friends. Nobody ever told you that you're different than your classmates. So you just do what you call blend in. You assimilate. You become just like your friends. So when you have a birthday party, all of your friends that are there are for the most part white. Your Girl Scout troop is mostly white. I look back on some of my pictures. I have to show them to you. And then I realized that there was difference. People saw difference. Do you know that I looked at my ballet pictures and I looked at my gymnastic pictures, and what I found, I was surprised. They always put me right in the middle. I mean, dead in the center, as if for like artistic purposes. Put the black one in the middle and everybody else like focal point. I found that curious as I got old. I said, wow. So it was aesthetics. Put the black one in the middle. So then people were very aware of race, right? Never failed. Never failed. Very interesting. Okay. And these are I'm talking about pictures for me, 7 years old, 6 years old, 5 years old, doing different sports and different activities. Okay. So back to my point, childhood, you have white friends. You don't see anything. You're unaware. You're surrounded by white folks. Their norms become your norms. Now, you will notice some differences. I did notice differences, but I didn't accuse it of whiteness. I didn't say, oh, that's because they're white. I remember times I had friends I would say, "Ooh, I don't want to eat at their house because I knew the food was nasty. They eating weird shit. They over there eating olives like for snack. I don't want to eat olives for snack. We don't eat that, right? At my house. Because of course my parents are black, clearly black. So I do notice there's differences. I have noticed that my friends sleep with their dogs. Come on, Frisky, get in the bed. I'm like, whoa, you got the dog in the bed? My family, no, that's not an option. So we had cultural differences, but I did not recognize cultural differences. I just figured that's just how they do at their house. I remember one particular friend. Her mom was always doing this goddamn celery, peanut butter, and raisins. What the fuck is that? So there was some differences, but I didn't accuse it of whiteness. I just said, well, she's just fucking healthy. Her mom's extra healthy, eating olives and shit, eating peppers instead of chips. I didn't accuse it of whiteness. So you learn to assimilate. That's the most important thing. You adapt and you adjust to your environment. What does that mean? To adapt and adjust to your environment. That means if people talk like this, then you talk like this. They say like. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you talk like that because that's what your friends are doing. You are unaware that your black ass looks crazy as fuck, okay, to some outward eyes. And I remember as a young girl going among my country folk in Georgia, my daddy's side, okay, poor country folk who live in trailers. And I remember them being a culture shock to me when I can remember earliest. Ooh, what's this? Very foreign to me. I was seeing their poverty, not their blackness. They're poor. That's it, right? And I remember the differences. But I looked at that as they just don't have a lot of money. And I understood that. My parents talked to me about it because they're extremely poor. They were extremely poor at that time. Okay. But my point is, they pointed out difference to me. Why do you talk so proper? Oh, she talks funny. They said that for the longest time. When my cousins, I think I didn't meet my cousins on my dad's side until I was about 8 or 9. And I remember them saying that constantly. Why you talk like that? Even the people in the area would come. Why your cousin talking like that? They talk about me in front of me. Why she talking like that? And I'd be looking at them, what the hell do you mean? Why you talk like that? That's kind of, you talk funny to me, shit. But they were recognizing your ass sounds really fucking white, as we can call it white. You sound fucking white. Nobody told me it was white. They just said proper. Why do you talk like that? I adapted the tone, the speech patterns of the environment I grew up in, which was all white. And so that's what I'm telling y'all. White people, to be and exist among a sea of white people when you are unaware, what do you know except your peers? You're around them more than you're around your parents sometimes. You adapt their mannerisms. You adapt their fashion style. This is your environment. This is all you know. So you become very similar naturally because you are unaware that you're supposed to be doing anything else. You are a child. You are adapting and adjusting and growing into the environment that is presented to you. So you didn't choose any of your mannerisms. You didn't choose to dress a particular way. You didn't choose to have certain values. Those values are set up by the society. Let me give some examples. You have no recognition of race. In this environment, it's valuable to not discuss race, to not point out difference. It's valuable. People value that. Let's just move on as people. And you go along with that. You don't even know about race. You don't care because nobody around you cares. Nobody points out your difference. They treat you the same. But then we have what you call middle class values. If you grow up in such one of these environments, these white utopias, and you grow up racially unaware with no identity, no blackness per se, no black culture, nothing enforced or given to you, you adapt and adjust to whiteness. You act like white folk. Whatever they're doing in that environment is what you do. Everybody wants to fit in. This is a natural thing. You are, again, unaware. But you do have one thing, what I would say is middle class to upper middle class values. And those values are dictating how you behave. Okay? Those become your norms. And so it could be that you get around working class black folk and you see, ooh, we don't have the same values. You see things this way, I see things that way. Okay. I had one friend in my adulthood. She and I got into a little bit of an argument. Okay. Because I want to go into the details, but I put it this way. The washing machine broke at my house and I had a fucking fit. Why did I have a fit? Because I cannot deal with appliances that do not work. And she started to like antagonize me when I told her that I had, decided that it needed to be done and I was dropping what I was doing and I was going to handle it immediately and I'm going to buy another one. And she was just like, why don't you just hang your clothes outside? Why are you that and like why are you so upset about it? Why you have to act on it? Why are you so and I was just like, it doesn't work. That's it. And she was like, well, I grew up poor. And when we had something that didn't work, we learned to live without it. That's not an option for me. And those are things that I noticed, class differences. My thing is when something breaks, somebody has to come and fix it immediately. That thing has to be replaced at all costs immediately. I remember my grandmother had air conditioning at one time. And when her air conditioning broke, she had fans throughout the house. And she lived the rest of her life till she died like that. I can't do that. That is a difference. So these are what I'm talking about, norms and middle class values. Even the way that you live your life, the way you think about things, the way you do stuff, you proceed, your procedures, your expectations for how things should work. They're not the same. Within 24 to 48 hours, if something breaks, somebody's going to fix it and replace it, and I'll pay for it by any means necessary. That's how it is. Doing without it is not an option. It's not. That's failure to me. That's failure. Okay. So middle class values and middle class norms and feeling like things have to function at a certain place or all is not well. Things must function a particular way. Things must be functional. There is a kind of entitlement that comes from that thinking. This is part of adapting to your environment. Things must be functional. I will not allow things to not be functional. I would raise hell until things are functional, right? This is where your Karens come in at. If you think about it, why do these Karens always pop up? It's that white entitlement, that thinking that things must be this way or it's dysfunctional. So I have to do something to make it functional. That is the type of energy that I'm talking about that you grow up with, that those are the things you value, that it is my job to fix dysfunctional things, to address them, and they must become functional by any means necessary. That is part of those middle class, upper middle class, whiteness values that one grows up with when one is a natural born coon. There is a sense of entitlement and order. And anything that's not in order is out of order. And it's something to be either fixed or disregarded, thrown away. It's useless. It's no good. Same thing with the appliances. Same thing. If people are not functional, you don't be bothered with them. If people don't do what they're supposed to do in society, you throw them away. You just move them out. Go away. You don't need to be here. We don't want you. We're not going to make space. There's an entitlement there. Okay? So this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. These are the values that have been taught in those environments. To throw things away that are not functional. People, jobs, this, that, doesn't matter. Things must be functional. That is the order that must be created. Okay? So most of the middle class values come from being raised in a two-parent functional household. Not all are functional. You will find that out in the suburbs. You'll find it out in white utopias. Okay? Not all families are functional. When you get to be friends with these folk, you see dysfunction. But on the surface, the value is that no matter what it is, it has to look a certain way. The appearance of function is more important than functionality. That is also a middle class white utopia value. Your kid might be fucked up. They might do this, they might do that, they might be disrespectful in the house. But when they're out in public and they're doing certain things, they have to look like they're functional. Okay. But the middle class value of having a two-parent household, valuing that is the norm. You don't grow up seeing, when you are a natural born coon, you don't grow up seeing divorcing. It's weird. It's strange. It's like, whoa, what happened? It's not functional, right? You're supposed to see functional marriages. And so that's the story that people run. They put on the look of, okay, because the value is marriage. At all costs, the value is marriage. That's what people value. So you put that on even if it's not good, even if it's not great, that's what you put on. That's what you show the world. This is where your value lies, okay? And so you will see two people married, they got children, they got a house, they look functional. And everybody's happy with that look. That's the value. That's how the community, that's how the white utopia exists, okay? But those two parents in the household showing you as a child what a man does and what a woman does, her role versus his role. This is how you develop naturally your understanding of men and women and how they relate to each other. These are the values that come from the white utopia. You grow up and you imitate similar than what you grew up with. I mean, as you grew up with. In contrast, there are people who don't value that. They don't know what that is. They don't know what that looks like. Okay. So part of this whole deal is a culture that you're buying into. And I'm not going to say it's white culture or black culture or whatever, but the white utopia pushes forward an agenda, a middle class value system and agenda. It's embedded in the system. It's constantly reinforced. I don't remember anybody when I was growing up saying, "Oh, it's just me and my mama." I don't remember that. And I do remember as a teenager hearing that somebody was their parents were getting divorced. Ooh, ooh, oh, dysfunction. They can't carry the mission. The environment reinforces these values. Okay, you don't know about stuff. You're unaware. Again, you're unaware of poverty. You're unaware of race. You are unaware of people who have major differences. We're talking about a sea of clones here, a sea of clones, and you're just one that happens to be of a different skin tone. You're still a clone, unaware. So I talked about societal norms, the way one should behave. You adapt to the environment, the mannerisms, and I do mean mannerisms. The mannerisms are telling. Okay, I had to catch my friend Tony towards the end of the string. This motherfucker regressed. He's like, "Oh, I enjoyed talking to you too, May." That's what he said. "I enjoyed talking to you too, May. It was a blast." I said, "See, there you go." He was being his natural self. What nigga you know talking about it was a blast? That shit be peeking out, man. You can't. He's fucking in his 40s. It was a blast. I was like, oh, here we go. So listen to that conversation we had, and we talked about all of these different things, not knowing how to be around other black people once you're aware of race, not knowing what to say. How do you be cool? How do you gain acceptance? What's acceptable, what's not? Are you going to sound corny? Are you going to be irritating because you sound like an imitation? Are you trying to imitate them? Do they recognize there's no authenticity when you try to speak Ebonics? Do they make fun of you because you're trying your best to be black or sound like black folk and you don't? I was offended. I ain't gonna lie. About, I don't know, maybe it was 6 months ago. I was talking to one of my online friends, and he said something that shit shocked the fuck out of me. He said, yeah, I was listening to you talk and stuff. I can tell you from. I said, what? No, the fuck you can't. I was offended. He said, man, yeah, you sound like somebody who grew up. I said, no, the fuck I don't. I got mad. I was upset about that. As much energy as I have put into learning new speech patterns and being around my people so I can learn to fit in and sound normal and shit. And then you gonna fuck around and say that shit? But just like Tony, maybe I'll be slipping up sometime. Maybe the way I'm saying stuff. Or maybe it's the mood I'm in. I regress to my natural self. I'm not authentic. I have to admit that, and I'm being honest. I'm not fucking authentic. I try to be authentic. But authentic is authentic, isn't it? So societal norms, and the focus is always educational achievement. You are measured by your ability to achieve academically. This is part of growing up in that white utopia. A coon values A real natural born coon values middle class values. That's what they grow up. They don't know anything else. They value education. They weigh themselves. They measure themselves by their ability to achieve academically. You eat, sleep, and breathe education. You are told that this is the promised land. The society you grow up in reinforces that. Are you on the honor roll? Then when people meet you to ask you, did you make the honor roll? That's the fucking conversation. All the people in your environment, did you make the honor roll? Or you lead with that. I made the honor roll. I'm in the honor society. I got this achievement. I got that achievement. You walk around with education as a badge of honor. This is how people measure and value you. Your education, your achievements, your ability to stay out of trouble. We look down on kids and adults who had trouble in their life because you are not what? Functional. You're not functional. We are always measuring and judging by how functional you are. And if you are a child who does not achieve, you're not functional. And your parents, by proxy, are not functional. Your parents are judged. Failure is not an option. This is the middle class value that is enforced and reinforced through the society of the white utopia. I don't care what color you are. You know what you must do to adapt and adjust to that environment, and you are unaware of any other alternatives. Again, the coon, the real natural born coon, is unaware that anything else was an option. This is how it is. This is how everybody is. This is how the world is. And you're convinced of it because you don't know anything else. Now, when you are at a certain point, your parents, will either commit completely to private school or they will send you to private school for a proportion of your life. I know some that went to private school just for the first elementary school to get a good foundation. And then they went on to good, excellent public schools that were just as good as private institutions. I knew kids that went to Augusta Christian, for example, their whole life from beginning to the end. And then you had hybrids like me. I went to private school for proportions of my life. Okay. And the education that I got in the public schools, because they were excellent, high socioeconomic environments. There were no apartments, no townhomes, no public housing, nothing. If you could not afford to get a house at a certain, they only build a house at a certain cost, right? All of them. They start at a certain cost. If you can't afford that, you can't live there. So the haves is all that's there. There are no have-nots. Okay, they'd have to bust their man if they were going to do so. But when I was growing up in the 80s, nobody gave a fuck about equality and finding, DEI and making sure that we have some poor kids here. They didn't do that. They didn't do that. As a matter of fact, they would have railed against it. I grew up in a predominantly Republican conservative environment. And so the conservatism and the republicanism, it's there. All of it. It's reinforced. All of it. Okay. And so what happens is that you end up being a college bound kid. Your whole life, your parents, your family, the environment, your teachers, the society, the church, wherever you go, there's always an expectation what college you going to. There's no exception to the rule. Everybody's going to college here. Everybody. There's no question. There's no alternative. You are unaware that there is. You were built to go to college. Society says so. Excellence is expected from day one all the way through college. You will finish college. This is an understanding. You will finish college and you will have a successful career. We are supporting that all the way. This is what you grow up understanding and believing. High expectations and anything else is fucking failure. It's not an alternative. It's not an option. Okay. There's no alternative. This is what the natural born coon is born into. None of this is an option. Anything else is not an option. Just this. It's a real small fucking world, and there's not a lot of room for diversity or alternatives or anything else. I should also say homosexuality. There was no place for it. That was dysfunctional. I'd never seen a gay. Now, the interesting thing is I do particularly remember a couple of the girls that was on the softball team that we call tomboys. They moved to Atlanta immediately after high school to go to college. And I came across them and they was rainbow in a motherfucker. But they would not dare in that environment to say anything like gay or claim it. It wasn't cool to do so anyway. But in that environment, it would be a complete and total failure of your family and it would be a shame. We had effeminate males. I remember one. You ask that motherfucker, was he gay? He'll tell you, nah, I like girls. He would not. That motherfucker is gay as fuck today. When he got away from there, be what you want to be. But in that environment, homosexuality is considered a failure. Nobody showed homosexuality. Nobody hinted at it. It was not okay. Matter of fact, if you guys want to look this up, there's a guy named Charlie Britt. Comes from my environment in Augusta, in the suburbs of Augusta. Charlie Britt, fuck around, being a gay man, closeted, DL doing his own shit. And it was the scandal of Augusta. Scandal, right? White man. He was a newscaster. I can't remember the name of the channel. But Charlie Britt fuck around and ended up at the hospital because he had some kind of anal circumstances due to anal sex. And when the doctors did whatever they had to do, they pulled out a condom from his butt. Okay. They had to remove a condom in the process. And I know that MCG and all of those things, what is it called when you respect people's medical situations? Privacy, medical privacy. That's supposed to be in play. But he was a homosexual. He had crossed the line, apparently. And it was unacceptable. Even though that's a private affair, they told his business. That shit made the news. And Charlie Britt lost his job. He lost his job. And the only reason they stated that he lost his job was because he was found to be a homosexual. And nobody in that environment wanted him on their news. They don't want to look at him anymore. He needs to go. He's a total embarrassment. He embarrassed himself. He got to go. They fired Charlie Britt for being gay. Okay. And they did so without a problem. Everybody was happy he was gone. They haven't looked at his gay ass no more. He was not a feminine man either. Okay. So I'm just giving you guys an idea. Hey, what's up, V-Dub? I'm talking about the difference between a natural born coon and these self-hating, choosing as Rat-Coons. Rat-Coons. Okay. So imagine growing up in these environments with all these high expectations and all this entitlement and all these resources available. You want something, you get it. It's simple. Sky's the limit. You don't have to ask for anything. Everything is given. Everything is provided. Nobody's poor. Nobody's struggling. Nobody's suffering. No matter what the cost, right? This is the norm. It's the norm. I grew up carrying $400 pocketbooks in the fucking 90s. You know, as a teenager. Why did I need some stupid shit like that? Why? That's what everybody's doing. It was a trend. Mom carries a Dooney and Burke. Daughter carries a Dooney and Burke. Agner, this, that. You know, things are different now. We got so many different brands. But that's how it was. Mommy and daughter carrying matching purses. High brand. You know, that was the trend. You go shopping, mom has this person, daughter has a matching one, which is modified from her bigger purse. That's just normal. This is how you know you're living, right? Everybody goes on vacations to these nice, beautiful, exclusive places. This is how it is. Family vacations. You spend everything as much as you want. It's expected. Where are you guys going to vacation? You know, this is the type of environment that natural born coons born into. Ease, excess, entitlement. You think you're doing it. You think you're doing it until you meet the real world. You're in a bubble. You don't fucking know. You're unaware. You still don't know you're black, but you know when you're going to find out you're black. You know when you're going to find out you're black? When it's time to date. What age is that? When then people start getting interested in opposite sex, what age is that? 12, 13, 14. So you can be unaware as you want to. But something flips. Something changes. The temperature rises. Folks start looking a little different at you when it's time to date. And I will never forget, for me, for example, when I had one of my friend's grandmothers who happened to be visiting her that day. And I remember my friend Stephanie, white girl, her grandmama kind of pulled me to the side. Like I needed to have this conversation with her. I think she needed to have it with me. And she said, you know, I just don't understand Stephanie. I just don't understand her. Just a different generation. I don't know why she keeps trying to date those black guys. And I'm a black girl. And somehow in me, I was kind of like, why is she having this conversation with me? Does she want me to talk to Stephanie about dating the black guys? Is she trying to tell me something about myself? What are we doing? I don't understand. She kept saying she wasn't raised like that. She wasn't raised like that. She wasn't raised like that. I don't know why. For the life of me, I don't understand why. That's what she kept saying to me. And she told me, she said, I don't see anything wrong with people's races. I just don't think they should mix. That was one of the very first times that I got a glimpse that there's something different going on here. Something, there's another world that I'm not quite exposed to. I got a little pinch, taste of reality, just a little dab right there, just a little dab. And it continued, and it continued, and continued. And it came in multiple different ways manifested. Multiple ways manifested. I remember one particular time, I told my mom about it. I was getting on the bus, and the white bus driver, all the bus drivers was white. Everything's white. It was dress up day for high school. I forget the name of the dance, but you're supposed to dress up. Every day you do something different. Spirit week or some shit. And I was dressed up just like everybody else dressed up, just being my natural self. And I get on the bus. He said, "You look cute for a little black girl." I said, "Oh, okay, thanks." See, unaware. Unaware. And I sat and I thought about it. Cute for, it was very fast and flippant. "You look cute for a little black girl." Now, I don't know if that man was racist and he intended to insult and it didn't quite land. And I'm sure he might have been disappointed if he was. Thanks. Imagine a black child saying that. Thanks. I just heard the good part. Later I would reflect on that and tell my mom what he said later, much later. It takes a coon a long time to catch on to insults because you don't believe that there's a difference for a long time. As I said, the incidents and the became more frequent and more frequent and more frequent. And my mom had to expose me to race slowly. She had to tell me. And I'll just go briefly on this incident right here. I'll tell you the story of this incident. I remember when we first, I've seen flits of race and something here and there, but it was never enough to get my attention. Who's processing as a child? Who's fucking processing? Who? Who has time for that? You're trying to deal with toys and who's my friend and who's my birthday and where we're going and, ballet. You don't have time for this shit, right? Who gives a fuck? You're just being a kid. But I remember when we first moved into the neighborhood. I might have been 5 or 6, maybe 5 or 6. I can't remember exactly. Can't remember, or 7, 8, something like I don't know. But we first moved into the neighborhood, this particular neighborhood where we ended up staying until all white neighborhood. And I remember the 4 or 5 white women. They came with their little boxes, little crates, tin cans, baskets, and they were standing at the porch. We have glass doors. Everybody in the neighborhood's glass door is usually unlocked, and you can see straight through the house. Once you come to the glass door, everything is visible. And they came to the door. My mother stepped out of the door, which I found interesting because we had one black neighbor, the Moseses that lived next door, and the husband was the wife was a stay-at-home mom, and the husband owned a what's it called? Was it eye doctor? Oh shit, ortho, is it ortho? Oh shit, orthologist. Oh shit, I can't think of what it. Ophthalmologist. I'm sorry, he's an ophthalmologist. Yes, finally, confidentiality. Yes, you have to have confidentiality. He was an ophthalmologist, and so being an ophthalmologist, he had his own practice. Eye doctor. He did everything, so the surgeries and all. So he's high on the pay grade. He's his own ophthalmology center, and we lived next door to him. So it was very common that Miss Moses, black woman, I remember her. She was beautiful. She had a short hair, very very short, beautiful hairstyle. She was so classy. Oh my God, you would think she sung jazz or something. She reminds me of some of these jazz singers. So classy, so beautiful. She was like a walking Essence magazine, okay? And she wore these big, beautiful earrings, very cultural. I think now look at it, cultural earrings, okay? Always, oh man, Miss Moses was so beautiful, so gorgeous. All she did was walk all the time. She was always walking, okay? But anyway, that's why the doors are like that. She used to walk over and just like tap on the door and come in, you know. And these women were standing there. They were from the HOA and they wanted to welcome us to the community. These 4 or 5 white women, I can't remember the number. My mom stepped outside. I thought that was strange. I stayed inside. She didn't tell me to come outside. She stepped outside and I remember them saying something to the effect of, oh, we thought we would visit, which means kind of, are you going to invite us in? We thought we'd come and pay you a visit and, sit and talk. My mom said, we can talk here. And my mom had a sternness about herself. She's a very, my mom reminds me of Maxine Waters a lot. That's the closest person that I can give is Maxine. She has the energy of Maxine Waters, very forceful, very like straight to the point, no nonsense. She said, no, we can talk here. My mom is a beautiful woman, very attractive, professional woman. And she's always been a leader in everything. She's an accountant by trade, by education. And so she came and she stood there and they talked to her and they talked to her and talked to her. And then they gave her, she was polite enough and they gave her all these tin cans or whatever. And so she reached in and handed a couple of them to me and they were full of sweets. And so she set them on the table. I put the ones that she gave me on the table. It was a whole bunch of them. Might have been a bag. I can't remember. And we opened them up to see what was in them. I said, oh my God, brownies. Oh shit, lemon bars. Oh shit, they got, chocolate chip cookie. I was so fucking excited. I was like, yeah, jackpot. I mean, look at the kid. Imagine the excitement. Somebody brought all these fucking baked goods, homemade shit. Oh, snap. Oh, sicky. My mom didn't say a goddamn word. She walked right over to the trash can, dumped each and every bit of the contents in. I was mortified. I said, Mama, what? Whoa. I was gonna eat. She said, you ain't eating shit. We're not finna eat none of that shit. She probably didn't say shit. I'm saying shit. We're not eating that. And I was like, why? She's like, they're strangers. I don't know them. I don't know what their intentions are. She said, they're being nosy. That's the only reason when they came over, they're being nosy. They want to see how black people live. If we live like that. I was like, oh, whoa. I remember her saying that shit. And it's only in years later I processed what she was saying. The only thing I remember is them goddamn goods, them good ass cookies going in that trash. And I'm trying to be like, them ladies look nice to me. I want to eat them cookies. They was smiling. Shit. Where do you see a problem? Because I don't. I was a child. But her thought was they just wanted to come over to be nosy. They had a curiosity. Now, I don't know if that was based on something. Maybe my mother did a ask around. Did anybody else get cookies when they came? And she found out nobody did. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what that was based on. It could have been based on something. I don't know. But anyway, my point is this. I had little moments that let me know that there was little differences. But as a child, you just adapt into your environment. Okay. But when you become a teenager, that shit with frequency starts coming up because at this point, now little boys and little girls are growing up and it's time to date. And that's the difference that makes the difference. Oh, it's nice when you children, you're hanging out with little Becky. But now the black boy wants to date the Becky. Okay, now we got to get some order. And that's not in the order. That's when it changes. Everybody who grew up in the white utopia with me, they remember high school, that dating thing. That was the difference that made the difference. White folk pulled back because they're like, wait a minute, it's time to be a little different now. Now, how do they teach their children that? How do they teach their children that? I don't want to get into the story of it. The shock of my life, how I lost my white best friend. I don't want to get into the shock of that. I don't want to spend no time and energy on that. I told a story to somebody the other day. But that's one of the things that made me become aware of my race. It was so in my face. No, I'm gonna just tell it. Fuck it. I'm gonna just tell it. Because I want you to understand what being a natural born coon is. You're unaware, you adapt to your environment, and you are exactly like everybody else. And there's no fucking difference. And you don't know until one fine day racism comes and the veil is lifted and you are slapped across your black ass face and you will never be the same again. Shocking as it may be. You live your life unaware and you are unprepared for that shit. I had a best friend named Courtney. Been friends with Courtney elementary school. I remember second grade specifically, second, and I had an Indian friend named Shabana. But Courtney was one of my best friends, my best friends. I call her best friend. She called me best friend. We were best friends all the way through elementary, all the way through middle school. And middle school, she started acting funny. I remember her not saving my seat sometimes, letting some other chicks sit there. I remember that. I saw little bits. But it was when we got to high school that it became absolutely clear. I remember me and my mom was going through the mall together, walking, and Courtney was in the opposite direction, walking towards us, and we were walking towards them. And I was so happy to see her. Oh my God, hey, Courtney, 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 hey. And her eyes did not move. She did not smile. She did not look at me. And I said, oh, she can't see me. You know, she was in a distance. She was getting closer. And I could tell, now that I look back at it, I embarrassed them. I embarrassed them. That whole scene embarrassed all of us. They got closer and closer. And now I'm in ear distance. I know she can hear me. I know she sees me. I'm waving my hand frantically. Hey, hey, I'm so excited. Unaware. This day would change the rest of my life as it relates to my identity as a Black person. Courtney's walking almost 5 feet from me and I'm waving. And I mean, when I tell you the determination to look forward and not look at my Black ass was so there, her and her mother, you could see they were turning a slight pink embarrassment. She's beside me at this point. I'm like, Courtney, Courtney, hello, Courtney, I'm talking. Hey, hey. I stop walking and turn around because she's going past me and she's acting like she can't see me. I'm in the motherfucking twilight zone, goddammit. This is my best friend. What the whole fuck is going on? My mom grabbed me by my arm. She said, be quiet, let's go. We're walking and she's talking under her breath. And when my mother talks under her breath, she's serious in the motherfucker, okay? You know what she says to me? She said, let me tell you something. She said, she's not your friend. She's not your friend. Her mama don't want her to have Black friends. Do you understand that? You're Black. She don't want you to be her friend. That's why she's not talking to you. And she said, that's okay. You saw she just ignored you? She doesn't exist to you anymore. She does not exist to you anymore. She's not your friend. And we surely had conversation around that. But that's what she said under her breath in that moment. My mom was embarrassed for me. She knew that the veil would fall one day. And I'm glad she was there to actually be there to save me from being a complete and total blind fool. Imagine that, just waving. Huh? Hey, what are you doing? Hello. The mother and daughter are determined to distance themselves, to act as if they do not know. Her mama know me. Been over there at their house. But now we're teenagers. Now we're in the public. Now things are different. This is a point of no return. I went from being unaware. You think Courtney's the only one? Mm-mm. The same ones I went to the roller rink with, something's going on. Something's different. I'm trying to tell you, white people take order. When it's time to, this is a time when people start dealing with the opposite sex. There's a line in the sand. I never was prepared for the line in the sand. And the only reason why I'm so clear that this line in the sand and this race mixing is the line is because that is when myself and many of the other Black kids from the white utopia started to all at the same time recognize the difference, the change, the treatment. And I was never called a nigger. I was never told you can't see it because you black, none of that. This was the drawing line. This is how you keep order in white society. You can't have race mixing. You got to distance yourself. You push your children away from those black kids they've been friends with. Why don't you be friends with her instead? She's a nice girl, right? You become aware of your blackness. The veil has been lifted. You will be slapped several times until you come to that natural conclusion that your blackness, the thing you didn't identify with, is the difference that makes the difference to these white folks in this white utopia. You're not the fucking same. You can have your mama can drive the Mercedes, your daddy can drive the Lexus. You can live in the same fucking neighborhood, go to the same, afford all the same shit. You are fucking black and you're not white. You're never gonna be white. I don't give a fuck what you put on. I don't care what you say. Your ass is black. The world accepts you as black. That doesn't mean less than, but your ass is black. You've been identified as black, whether you like it or not. Now you can keep cooning if you want to, but that ain't gonna get you nowhere. It's not gonna get you nowhere. Your ass is black in a white world. You will find out the hard way when you are a natural born fucking coon. It's not nice. It's not nice watching your teenagehood lose all your childhood friends because of race. It's not nice. It's co-signed by the society. Nobody thinks it's weird that they're distancing now. They can't roller skate with you now. They can't go places with you now. Nobody talks about it. They're too polite to discuss it. These are things you whisper, or like my mother, you say under your breath. We don't talk about race and white utopias. We let things be. We are unaware until the veil falls that we have always been natural born coons. Now you have a choice, and I saw that in high school. These kids are just like me, black in the white utopia. You have a fucking choice. You can do one or two things when you're a natural born coon. You can get your nigga wake up moment and wake the fuck up, or you can go deeper into your delusion. I saw most 90, 80%. Me and Tony talked about it. I want y'all to listen to my conversation with my childhood friend. We both grew up together, reflected over the years, constantly talking about the trauma of growing up black in a white utopia and what that meant for us and our lack of identity and our inability to connect to our own people authentically past that environment. Shit's hurtful. Shit's very hurtful. You will always be a poor imitation the rest of your life. You will always wonder, are people finding out? I see motherfuckers in the world all the time, and I be looking like, girl, you doing that honey girl, sister girl? I be like, yeah, your ass. I know where you come from. You ain't fooling me. I know what that shit looks like. Your man real, I see it all. You can't hide it. You try. Good luck. They might not see it, but I see it. I don't call it out, but I'm just saying, you a poor imitation. And what I'm talking about is not no hood, this, that, blackness. I'm saying there's something when you grow up in this whiteness, there's this corny cheesiness about you. There's this thing, there's mannerisms, there's things about you can't quite purge completely. It pops the fuck out, whether you like it or not. And I've studied myself. At least I think I have. And I try to purge out a lot of shit that I'm like that ain't where everybody else is black. They're not gonna say that. I mean, it was funny. Miss Queen Sunkissed the other day. I was a little bit embarrassed. I ain't gonna lie. I said it out loud, and I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have said it out loud, but I did. I was like, oh, I don't want to say that word. It just sounds so white. I have a barometer constantly. I'm always double consciousness. Do I sound white right now, or am I sounding black? It's fucked up to walk around like that. It's fucked up. Did I sound black enough? Did I act kind of like? Is anybody going to kind of tell I'm not quite, I'm not talking about hood and ghetto. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that whiteness part, is that popping out? Will I say something too white on accident? Will I regress in some way and make myself known and look stupid? I have to deal with that. I have to deal with that constantly. And I was cooking the other day, and I was like, oh, I got to get something out of the cupboard. Ooh, God damn it. I sit under my breath, Miss Sunkist caught it. Same with my brother said, don't say that shit. Sounds so white as fuck. Shit sound white as fuck. I had another word. I need another word. She did a whole like, short. And she was like, yeah, that's some white shit. The black people don't say that. Like people don't call it cupboard. Black people say cabinet. They say the food, I guess the food shelf or whatever. But if I'm not careful, I will be saying cupboard again. You know. You said you said your existence displayed you was around white folks, the pantry. I'm backstage. Oh shit! I didn't know you was backstage. It's funny that I'm. Um, that's crazy that your mama knew. Oh, here you go. Yeah, we had this conversation. Here, let me pull you up. I didn't know you was backstage. I wasn't looking. All right, and then I'm gonna go into the conversation about the coon. I think I'm done with the that part. Here we go. All right, Queen. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Hello.
You can't hear me?
Hey. Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I
How
can
you
hear you
doing?
perfectly. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm good. I'm
I
good.
just heard
I'm
you
just
loud. Turn it
reflecting
back.
because I'm preparing
Huh?
for a conversation. I'm preparing for a conversation with Clue.
Oh, girl, you can hear this shit.
Not today. Not right now. Not right now. At 8 o'clock, I'm gonna have a conversation with Clue because we was over there on was it Bon Cherry, and he came over there trying to kill Coon, and I was just like, dude, y'all need to cut this act out. This act is so lame. Y'all Negroes are just black people who are self-hating. You just hate yourself. So just stop the coon shit. Y'all are not coons. You don't know a real coon. So we got into a debate about what a real coon is. And I was kind of refreshed and a little bit embarrassed when my friend Tony, he was like, yeah, I was a coon. You know,
No.
I'm talking about himself. He was saying, he was claiming that he was a coon. And for him to have come as far as he has, for him to call himself honestly a coon, I was proud of him. And, of course, you're embarrassed at the same time, but I was proud of him that he could actually acknowledge it. A former coon.
Yeah,
I
Clue
consider
is a
myself a
self-hate
former.
nigga. That's all that
Huh?
is. He a self- I say Clue is a self-hate nigga.
That's what he is. He definitely is. Him and Clue. They're self-hating. They're self-hating black people. This is not a coon thing. And that's the thing I should say too. And then I want to just hear your thoughts. You just flow. But I just want to say this. A real coon, a natural born coon who's born into the environment, and unfortunately they don't know, and their parents didn't exactly tell them, okay, which is a fault. Me and you talked about that. We agreed it's a fault. There's no doubt it's a fault. But that person who's a real natural born coon from those environments, they would never fucking claim coonhood. It's definitely not something they would claim. They wouldn't even know how to claim that. And they definitely would not see such a thing as a badge of respectability. So that's the key. A coon, a natural born coon, is unaware and they do not identify racially. Okay? They're unaware of race for the most part. And when they are confronted with race, they are embarrassed by someone pointing it out. And they damn sure ain't finna claim no status as a coon. They would never, a real coon would never call themselves a coon. A self-appointed fucking coon. That's how we know y'all are not finished. What are your thoughts? Just flow, girl. Tell me, give me your wisdom. Give me your wisdom. I'm gonna
I
go on
mean,
mute.
I agree with you. I don't think that nobody that actually grew up in a white utopia is running around shitting on black folks unless they got such a self-hate with them. I believe that's just normal. That's normal for them. That's the way they grew up. That's the way they live. It's like you being self-conscious about who you are is crazy.
Why do you think
You
that's
should cut,
crazy?
you should just cut that out and just exist. Trust and believe. We understand that there are people in our racial group that grew up around white folks. We know that. And we understand y'all not gonna understand some of the stuff that we got going on. Just like I might not understand some of the shit you got going on. So
Right.
you don't have to be self-conscious about that because we already know that. And them motherfucking niggas that grew up in the hood and found two nickels to rub together and decided that they was better than where they came from, that's some different shit.
It is different, ain't it? They don't want to act like it's different, but it's girl, it's different. When you know, and I'm gonna go in on the raccoons in a second. I'm about to go
Hey,
in because
person that grew up around white folks, not necessarily, even if they be around black people, their conversation is not gonna be like that. Uh, these specific group of dudes that you talking to, they're not gonna, their conversation's not gonna be like this. They might have some uh conservative views that some black people might not share because contrary to popular belief, the black folks are really a conservative group of people. Always have been. Um, but certain ways that they view things may align with um how white people view things, but not all things. You know what I'm saying? And they not sitting up here. They don't view the entire or the bulk of black culture as something that's trashy and ghetto, right?
right,
But these niggas grew up around some type of poverty, some type of bullshit, and they found out it was better things in the world some kind of way. And they still ain't got to touch those better things. And they think that if they can somehow escape they group, that they'll be able to get to those better things. Nigga, not with your mindset, your people not gonna fuck with you. Loyalty means something.
well, yeah, and you'll notice the contrast, Queen. You'll notice the contrast. A natural born coon is born into an environment where since they were young, they were told success is the only option, right? They were born into a place where everybody's pouring all their energy and expectation. Did you make the honor roll? Which college are you going to? Everything is about success. Everything is leading you towards that success. It's expected automatically of you. These raccoons, these self-hating raccoons, they're on the back end in their 30s and 40s trying to imitate something they will never be. They're looking for success at 35 and 40, thinking that if they imitate white folk and do white folk, racist white folk talking points and try to pretend to be white, whatever they think white is, right? That's going to
Yeah.
lead them to success. A real raccoon was being led by success, led to success from birth by the environment that birthed them. So there's a big difference. You on the back end of your life trying to be
And they're not
something.
looking down on black folks. Just like most successful white folks ain't sitting up there having conversations about the degenerate motherfuckers in their family. They
Correct.
got trailer park Tuesday and they got damn family too. They not sitting around having conversations and talking about the lowest level of white folks or none of that shit. They're not. That's not part of their conversation because that ain't got nothing to do with their bottom line. But
Absolutely.
these niggas want to feel like they are superior over the group that they really can't escape.
Okay, Queen, can you switch up your earphones? Because there's a lot of static when you're
I'm
talking.
not on
Only
my
when you're
earphone.
well, whatever it is, I don't know if you can adjust something else because it's like it's
I'm
static
not
when
on
you're
nothing.
talking.
I'm on
Okay,
speakerphone.
let me see. I'm trying to think what I can do. Um, mm, okay, we'll just go ahead and continue. Hopefully, when we listen to the playback, maybe I don't know. Go ahead, go ahead. But you were saying
I'm
they
just
think they're
saying that
better than
they
people.
want
That's
to
what you were saying.
they just want to feel like they superior over the people that they are among. Okay. Uh, and the truth be told, if you was to be able to examine their actual life, they probably the fuck up in their family.
Oh, I'm listening. I'm listening, Queen.
I,
I'm listening. Go ahead.
I said, if you look at their life, they probably the fuck up in their family. Because being successful is something that is taught pretty much standard. It's only a minority of black people that don't put being successful at the forefront of everything. Unfortunately, a lot of these people don't get to climb up the socioeconomic ladder. But sitting around being a bum is not something that is readily taught. You thought, like I said, they found two nickels to rub together, okay, and decided that they was better than the next man. And that's all the hell it is. Because you can tell they ain't around no white folks that really got some. Because if they was, they'd have a better caliber conversation. They'd have a better standard of behavior. And they don't.
Well, yeah, and I think the thing that's naturally, when I think about natural coons in those environments, there's gatekeeping. There's a lot of gatekeeping, and I think that these older self-hating men who decide they want to be self-proclaimed coons, I don't think they even are aware of gatekeeping. You know what I mean? Um, you don't have access. They want what I'm saying. I'm not valuing it, but I'm saying they want to have access to this white middle class utopia concept. They want access, but they were not born into it. They're not born to the access. They're never going to have access to those type of people because those type of people they want to be associated with. Those people go back in history. That's where you come from is everything. Those people are going to naturally not. First of all, you don't have the same job to be around those people. You didn't go to school with those people. You didn't go to the private, predominantly white college that they went to. You don't have access. That's what I'm saying. You're playing with yourself. The world that you want access to, you weren't born into that community. You weren't part of that community. You didn't go to the same private schools, boarding schools as them white folks you're worshiping. Them type of white people that you're trying to worship, you didn't go to a predominantly white college with them. You weren't their frat brother. You weren't. You weren't on the golf course with them. You were not their best man at their wedding. The gatekeeping is clear. You never had access, so why are you playing on the internet? You're not part of that world, and you never will be. You're 40 years late. And that's the part that, because I understand how that works. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, but I guess it's like that in the streets, too. You can't, and I say the streets, I'm talking about, I watch movies and stuff. People who say they so from the so-called hood, go to fucking Philadelphia and just try to roll up and act like you belong. People can be like, who are you? Where are you from? Gatekeeping. Every community gatekeeps. You can't just roll up on people and belong to some shit that they don't know who you are, where you came from. Think about it. Every community gatekeeps. So to pretend that you have access to this white utopia world where all is well and perfect and you're the perfect Negro because you're part of it, you're not. You're just fucking not. You wasn't born into that. And all the trademarks are not there. So most of these self-appointed coons, what college did you go to? Which one? How did they pick you among them? I mean, at least I could say I could look at Barack Obama and be like, well, they picked him because that motherfucker went to, Harvard Law and he was a leader there.
Yeah, he went to Harvard.
I'm just, huh?
I say, yeah, he went to Harvard.
Right. And he got awards and he was respected. He was a leader there. People cared what he had to say. They lifted him to greatness. I don't want to use Barack Obama as an example, but I'm just saying, when you got access, there's gatekeeping. And you clearly have people that don't have the access, but they're just cosplaying online. They're pretending. They're not part of that world. They've never existed in that world. They don't even know what that world looks like. So basically, in essence, they come online and they say what they think is whiteness.
Like you said, and like I was saying, one of the things I said is the most important thing, the value that you get from a white utopia is that things that don't function, you don't spend no energy on. You ignore things that are dysfunctional. You remove them. They're not part of your world. There's no room for it. And the same thing you said. Who sits around, if you're white or black, who sits around and talks about failure and fuck up? Who does that? Who spends energy on what's fucked up and what's failing? Who does that? In any culture.
They know them folks that this that is not a toxic discussion. Another thing that people that are successful don't do. See, this is what happened with Negroes. And it's another reason why we don't get nowhere. It's another reason why we don't get anywhere and don't nobody talk about it. When you get one that's managed to go a little higher on the social economic level than those around them, instead of them taking that shit and forging their own path, what they want to do is try to take their means and try to control the people that's around them. So they want to use their money to try to bully people to do what they want them to do or change their behavior and shit like that, which doesn't that don't build generational wealth. All that does is create a energy or animosity between them and the community that they call themselves trying to help. White folks don't do that shit. Let me
That's
let
a
me
good
let me
point.
let me take white out of it. Motherfuckers that's successful with their money don't do that shit. If you need some money from them, they'll run you the money. They gonna give your ass a contract to go with it too.
Hmm.
If you owe me, go do what you do. Here go your money. Make sure you run me mine back. But they
That's
don't
true.
do that. They want to throw money at you, try to dictate and control you instead of going out there and actually building something that where you can have people that you can dictate and control. But
Hmm.
and that's what they are. Like I said, they found two
But I
nickels
don't.
to
But I
rub
don't. But I don't
together.
think. But I don't even think a lot of those people that's trying to act like that, they actually doing it like that. You know what I mean? It's more of a
Oh, they be
show.
having money. They have money. They don't disseminate the money properly. That's why it doesn't go anywhere.
Oh, I see
They
what you're
want to
saying.
sit around the regular motherfuckers and dictate. You do this because I said so, because I paid for it. They're not taking that money and
Uh huh.
building nothing higher than where the fuck they are. They want to control the people where they are. That's them niggas. Also, look at how they make their money. Most of them dudes that's talking that shit drive trucks. So they're gonna amass a certain amount of coin they ain't used to having for driving them damn trucks. And that's it. But they ain't up here talking about no network because I'm not gonna even say you don't got access because you 40 now. I'm not even gonna say that. I've come across lots of affluent people in a whole bunch of different scenarios in a bunch
Hmm.
of different ways. Many ways to gain access. Thing is you gonna put in the work in order to get it and develop it and keep it cultivated. They're
Hmm.
not gonna do that. They want to sit over here and talk shit to the niggas.
But I mean, the thing is, they pretending they got access to this world. They don't have any access to it.
They
I
ain't
mean,
got no
that's
damn
the
access
funny
because they
part,
not doing shit to go get the access. That's what I'm saying.
right?
Like if you amass a lot of wealth, you into the industry, and this industry has moved you tax brackets that you ain't
Right.
never seen before, and you
Right.
wanted to keep that going. What you would do is start to network with it with people within that tax bracket. You would start
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
you would start to find out what other avenues of expansion you could do, which would put you in contact with other people. And at some point, you're going to run across somebody that got the keys to some gates somewhere.
Right.
These
I
niggas ain't
agree.
doing that.
I
These
agree.
niggas sitting around shaming other niggas. I'm better than you, nigga. I'm gonna talk shit about you, nigga, because I'm better than you. Because I got literally two nickels to rub together. And there's that. Because if they had any access, they wouldn't be sitting over here trying to shame people that's trying to get it out the mud.
Right. I agree. Successful people don't do that. Successful people
No.
focus on trying to figure out how to get to that next level. And they're not focused on spitting on other people, spitting down. They don't do that. But that's the thing, I think that a lot of the people, particularly that on the internet, I don't think that they really actually have a whole lot going on. You talking about 2 pennies? I don't even think they got 1 penny. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these people, they're making up this stuff online. They're making up this this status. I'm close to whiteness because they don't know. They've never been experienced enough to know that there are black people who are at certain levels. If you care about socioeconomics that much, and that's the thing. I think that comes from poverty. Being so concerned about I need to pretend to be white because I want to pretend that I got a lot going on because I don't. And I want to talk about money and status all the time. That's not actually a conversation successful people do. They don't care about that. People are just being who they are. Becky's just being fucking Becky. She has her standards, expectations, and she's being who she is. You know what I'm saying? Same with these white boys. They're just operating in their world. They don't spend. That's another form. It's a fucked up form of double consciousness. You are constantly aware of so and so class and so race because you're trying so hard to prove to people that you belong somewhere that you don't. You're not there. Stop trying to act like you're there. You're not there. Nothing about your background. The fact that you are so concerned with trying to spit down on people because you got half a penny or no pennies is because you're from a poor environment. And that poor environment is constantly revisiting in your mind, and you have an insecurity about your poverty. You know what I'm saying? My dad, and I tell people that all the time, my dad was poor. My dad came from a poor family. But my father didn't see his poverty as something. And when I say poverty, I'm not talking about just the money, but the poverty mentality, the idea of doing drugs and sitting around and being lame and sorry and lazy and not making something of yourself, not helping your community out. He never looked at that as like, I got to hide it. No, my dad tells this story all the time. He talks about how important it is to have those values of lifting yourself up, doing what you can, and taking the resources and being smart, being industrious, not being wasteful. My dad always talks about it. He learned that from poverty and he used that lesson to constantly say, keep striving. That's what he told me my whole life, keep striving. Don't never stop striving. He never say you need to spit down on people or talk down to people or tell people who you are and what they ain't. You don't need to do that. You need to constantly strive. That's what his poverty informed him to do. To constantly strive. He's had access because he strived. He was able to pull himself up because he strived. Striving has never done him wrong. But yeah, my dad didn't raise me to say, oh, look, make sure you tell other black people they don't got shit. Make sure you tell black people how uneducated they are, how they're monkeys and you're not. Make sure you tell people that's not where real shit is born. It's
I
not.
mean, didn't nobody teach them that shit neither.
That's what I'm saying. Their poverty, a lot of these Negroes that act like these so-called fake ass Rat-Coons, their poverty is something they're still in. They're not achieved the way they want to be. So this is how they decide to express themselves. They want to put on a costume. They want to pretend. If I talk down to black people and I promote whiteness, then clearly I'm of a higher status. That's poverty. That's only poverty speaking. A fucked up form of poverty, but it's poverty speaking. That is a consciousness of poverty. It's an awareness, a constant awareness. And my question is, once you lift yourself up and you are where you want to be, why is poverty still at the forefront of your mind, making you behave the way you do? Why are you still worried about the hood rats?
Because
If
they
you're
need to
uplifted,
control somebody.
right? Why are we worried about ghetto bitches and ratchet bitches in the hood and what they're doing with their hair? Why do we care when we're successful and we've achieved? Why do we care about that? Why is that the most important thing to do all the time? That's what I'm saying. It's fakeness. That's a
Well,
rat coon.
they'll tell you that they're just observing and commenting on what they're seeing is what they will say, which would
And
lend to the fact that
mhm.
you're not busy doing anything. And successful people are not busy doing nothing. They always got something to do. So, like,
Girl,
even
ain't it a vicious cycle? Ain't it a vicious
it's
cycle?
not really a vicious cycle. I understand it because I didn't seen it. Because, like, for instance, Clue, it's a possibility that he came from poverty, but Clue grew up in the same motherfucking city that I did. Okay, Clue went to fucking Skyline. Now I don't know whether he went to the magnet part of Skyline or he went to the regular school of Skyline. But Skyline is a magnet school, and you got to have a certain level of brains in order to qualify to get into that school. Now I went to Townview, so I had to apply to get into the schools that I went to. So ain't no whole lot of poverty in there. We going to school with people that are middle class and some upper middle class. We even had a couple of rich folks that was in our class. The crazy part, well, at least in my class. In my class, it was a girl that came from she was a white girl, a affluent family, and that motherfucker didn't graduate.
Right.
Crazy. But
Well,
her
I'm
parents
going to
could give
say
a
again.
fuck.
I want to say again, though, Queen. When I talk about class, a lot of times I'm also not just talking about the socioeconomic part. I spoke a lot earlier about your norms and your values and how you enact those values on the world. You know what I'm saying? So
Well,
I've
I'm just
seen
saying.
people come from affluent situations and they just decide that drugs and being stupid, and they
Yeah,
want
she
to imitate
decided
ghetto
that
shit.
she wanted to be stupid, and it was crazy because her parents made her come to the graduation. Not only did they make her come to the graduation, they made her stand outside the building
Damn,
at the
damn,
doors when we was leaving out, and she had to shake our hands and explain to us why she wasn't on that stage with us. Why her parents stand there and
damn.
made her do it. So it's not like these people are coming from terrible backgrounds. That's why I said if you listen to these motherfuckers, they're probably the fuck ups of their families.
So you're
They
saying it's
don't,
more of a personal thing. You just are personally fucked up, and it ain't a
yeah, because
reflection
they don't
necessarily of
even,
your environment.
they don't scream object poverty to me. They do not. I didn't seen poverty. Like I used
Well,
to have
truism.
my
I have to say this. Truism absolutely does, to me, because I'm looking at based on that city and other things that me and you have talked about and other things. He has not shown himself to live affluently or live in a nice environment most of his life. He hasn't shown that, and you know what I'm speaking of.
yeah, but I don't
So
think that's
for
where he came
him,
from. I don't think
well,
that's
for
how he
him,
grew up.
but that's his mentality, though. It's his mentality. It's actually his mentality. You are a reflection. Your environment is a reflection of you, and what he chose is even worse. You see what I mean? Than where you came from. I said that it's half about where you're from. It's more about where you stay. Because I mean, like I said, you got kids that they got the parents, they got all the middle class values and the education being pumped in their head, success, 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 and they decide to go off and just do drugs and rock and roll, and they throw all that shit in the trash.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean
some
they
people
didn't
just
come
want to
from an
be fuck
environment.
ups.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Some people, it's not about that. It's about when you are 18. From that moment, how productive are you? What do you have to show for 18 to 40? Doesn't matter where you're from. But see, a lot of this stuff is a reset. You can continue, you know, what you were taught and what was instilled. You can continue that, or you can fall all the fuck the way off. And I think that's what you're saying. You're saying a fuck up can be made at 18. It doesn't have to be born that way, right, Queen?
My
Hello.
bad, I had on mute.
So what you're saying is at 18, basically, you can choose to be a fuck up, despite where you're from,
Yeah,
good or bad. Yeah,
once you ain't got nobody that's on top of your head, putting no expectations on you, it becomes something that you want to do. Now,
right.
you can take an opportunity and squander it. Many people do. Just like I do believe they are in a position where they have an opportunity to actually gain this access that they trying to get. But they self-esteem so low, they so full of insecurity that they rather sit over here and try to put more insecurity into the demographic of people that they are around at present.
Yeah, that's not the mark of a
I ain't
successful
sitting
person.
around no goddamn baby mamas talking shit to them for what?
Right.
What I need to do that for? How that's gonna better me?
Mm,
How is that
yeah.
gonna get me to the goals that I'm trying to reach?
That's why I say it's a costume. Girl, it's just a costume. It's a costume. Because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any practical sense. It does. There's no payoff to it. Nobody. And the reality is, I mean, if you really look at it, it's entertaining for those who have a demented enough, ability to laugh at it. But at some point, this shit is just sad. It's sad because it's inauthentic. It's not real. It's not based on anything. And if you ask somebody, well, produce some receipts, how you're so great and you're so amazing, what have you actually accomplished? They can't come up with nothing. And what they will come up with, it ain't gonna be nothing different than anybody they talking down to. You got a job, I got a job. You got a spouse, I got a spouse. You got a house, I got a house. You got a property, I got a property. And what? You got a car, I got a car. You got kids, I got a kid. What's so fucking supernatural about you, Super Negro? Huh? What's so fucking special? What have you really done? Who else in the world recognizes what you've really done? I'm just saying. So the ability to talk down to people is not based on nothing. And so it's a form of double cooning if you think about it. It's kind of silly. And it's
It's
just
not based
soaking
on
self.
nothing. That's why they
It,
stay hidden.
it's exactly. It's soaking in self hatred. So let me go into this part, and then I'll take your comments, Terry. But let me just go ahead and lay it out. This is the second part. Rat-Coons. What is a rat-coon? A rat-coon is someone who is super aware of race and probably has always been. This person has had an identity or identified themselves at an early age as their race, more than likely. But the most important thing is they choose to be a rat-coon. It is a choice. It's not something that they were naturally born into. They're actually operating against the environment they were coming from. They're operating against it. They are in contrast to it on purpose. They're trying to distance themselves from the environment that gave them life. It is based on self hatred. This is a rat-coon. There's nothing authentic about it. And in my opinion, most raccoons, they do this choice at a later stage in their life. They choose to try to be white. They choose white supremacist talking points. They choose all that as evidence and proof that they are so different than people of their race. It's still soaked in self hatred. It's a choice. It is a not naturally occurring thing. One of the things that they do is that raccoons are always focused on race. They are focused on race. They want to talk about race constantly. They want to inject race into every single conversation. They cannot approach any reasonable, logical conclusion except to bring race into it. Race is the center of it because they always are trying to prove themselves to not be black, to be so different. They actually think they can define blackness, they think they can define whiteness, and they think that proximity to whiteness means something. It means nothing. It means nothing. It's forced. It's not natural. It's forced. That is the important thing to understand. This so-called cooning is very forced. It's inauthentic. They're trying too hard. You'll notice that when you hear them talk. Nothing natural about it. There's no natural flow. There's no culture that they actually come from that is based on, except the reaction against blackness. Most of these people, in my opinion, they probably likely come from working class backgrounds or poverty that decide that they want to put race and measure people by value according to race. In my opinion, I believe most of these folks come from the ghetto or the rural or poverty or working class families. I don't think that most of the people that are doing this type of thing, this self hatred, this blatant talking down and antagonizing of blackness, those specific type. I'm not talking about Clarence Thomas. I'm not talking about those types, but the type that do this type of thing. I feel they're reacting to poverty or lack. Okay. And I believe that this decision has been a decision that's made, a choice made at a later age. They come to the place where they say, I think I've gotten as much as I can get on my own merit. And my best maybe isn't good enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cosplay into whiteness by reacting negatively against blackness. And somehow I get some butter biscuits. Somehow people will elevate me to a higher place in their mind. They'll give me status undeserved. This is my assumption about the Rat-Coon. They're trying to find a force value that isn't there. That's what I think. And one of the things that the Rat-Coon will do is they will get a white spouse, male or female. We see this with the divestors too. Let's put that on the divestors as well. The divestors will do the same thing. I'm better than the black community because I have a white man. I'm better than because I have a white woman. Now, if you get a microscope and you place that spouse under a microscope, that white love interest, you will usually find a substandard status of a person. I don't know why people put whiteness on some pedestal to believe that it's so difficult to get somebody white. This is a predominantly white country. White people are everywhere. You can get a white man, you can get a white woman. It is not anything that's a big deal. Now, what are the qualities of that person? Does that person come from a good family? Is that person educated? Were they reared correctly? Did they come from a stable environment, a good, two-parent household? Do they have values, morals and values? Does this person have a clear, nice record when it comes to the way that you have behaved in public? Does this person have a criminal background? All of these things matter. Does this person have a lot of children or children out of wedlock? Have they broken the rules of morality? Are they upstanding? Is this somebody who's respectable? Are they respected in the community? All of these are questions you have to ask. You have to put that so-called spouse under a microscope before you can give them credit and uplifting them. Oh, you got you a white man. Oh, you got you a white woman. What is the quality? What are the qualities of this person? I would submit to you that a lot of times coons and divestor chicks, they will take substandard whiteness just so they can say they got something white. It's very sad. But unfortunately, there are some people who do not look closer or deeper, and they take it on face value, and they will allow that person to pedestalize said person. You are pedestalizing trash. A lot of these black men and these black women who have self-hate in their mind, they will pedestalize white trash. Let me say it again. They will pedestalize white trash. They will take a scraped up, raggedy ass, fucked up white woman and they will place her on a pedestal. And then what happens is all the sad little hateful Negroes will sit around and lift the bitch up too. Behold my poor white trash woman. Behold my poor white trash leftover lazy white male. It's sad. It's sad that black people will allow other black people to pedestalize trash. But this is what they do. And it's supposed to be some badge of I've accomplished something. You have accomplished nothing. This country is full of white people, and white people are coming in all colors, shapes, and forms, and they are different and diverse. You got low-class white folks that are throwaways. You got drug addict white folks, criminal white folks. It's all kind of white folks. All white people are not good. It would be my argument that most white people are bad. I don't give them pedestals. Okay? They don't belong on pedestals, historically speaking. So I find it very strange that people place white trash on pedestals for other people to behold. If you look closely, if you get a microscope, you will see this. Nothing to brag about at all. White folk are in abundance. They are not a rare source. Nothing difficult to have. And to think that you having something that nobody wants is a prize is sad. And my last point, that these folk who are Rat-Coons do not mostly have success. Most of them don't have anything they can actually say are my accolades, my accomplishments that make me great. The only thing that so-called makes them great is their claim to it. That's it. It's not based on anything. There is no greatness if you were to look closely. There's no greatness. They're not doing anything superhuman or anything different than anybody else black is doing. But yet they still decide that they want to costume and cosplay and talk like they're in whiteness. I would argue it's their blackness that keeps them, when I say their blackness, their identity of blackness, what they think blackness is, their stereotype of blackness, that keeps them focused on being aware of race. Their overemphasis on race is because they feel black as fuck, whatever that is to them. So that's my thought. Because I just think that people mostly in life, they just go along and do what they're naturally inclined to do. There's not a whole lot of rigmarole. There's not a whole lot of talking necessary. There's not a whole lot of processing necessary. One just moves through life and what you are naturally born and inclined to do. So this is the difference to me between a rat-coon, someone who probably doesn't come from much and hasn't really achieved a lot, but they want to identify as whiteness for status purposes. But it's a fraud, and everybody knows that. Everybody sees that. And the white folk that come for those type of things, they are the trash that I'm speaking on. Because regular white men, successful white men, they don't care. They don't even want to be a party to black folks talking about black folks. This is poor white trash that gathers so that they can feel better about themselves, to listen to niggas who don't want to be niggas talk about niggas. It's very sad. So I would say it's a cesspool of loss. It's a cesspool of unaccomplishment. It's a cesspool of people who are unaccomplished and unsuccessful. And they get together, and this is how they cope with the fact that they're not where they want to be. They choose to be self-hating rat-coons. Nothing real, nothing authentic. It ain't based on nothing. Not in their past and not in their present. And definitely not in their future. Those are my thoughts. What do you think, Queen?
I think that yeah, I think I agree with you, except for I don't think them motherfuckers come from no abject poverty. I've seen it. They don't come from that.
Girl, that I'm telling you the truism though. That city. Girl, I'm telling you, very few people from Philadelphia. I can't speak on everybody else, but when I understood that he was from Philly, and then when I saw that picture, girl, uh, he gonna have to definitely be the exception for me. I can't see it. It's very difficult to be from Philadelphia. If you know that place, like when you look at the statistics, it's the number one murder capital. It's also the highest level of all the cities per person. It's the highest level of crime. Like everybody, for the most part, is on drugs, involved with drugs, family suffering from drugs. Girl, the poverty level in Philadelphia. Anywhere else, I'd have given it a chance. But being from there, and not only being from there, but staying there for many, many years, you are completely like covered in poverty. I couldn't even stay there for a week to walk down the streets. That shit is everywhere. There's a stench about it. And if you stay there almost all of your life, you can't say that you're not in it. You in it. Just by the nature of that city. It's the nature of that particular city. And I would say Baltimore is very close second. Baltimore is very close second. There ain't no hiding from it, is what I'm trying to tell you. You ain't finna stay there. Like MOT, when he was a young man, his grandfather raised him to, boy, you gonna be somebody, you gonna get up out of here, this Mississippi Delta. You got to go. You got to go. And that's the first thing he did. As soon as he was of age, he got the fuck on. He could say, yeah, I came from a poor rural background or whatever kind of background that was stagnant and da da da. But by the time I was 18, I got the fuck out of there. I made something of myself. And that's the difference that makes the difference. It ain't about necessarily all the way where you from. That's half of it. It's about where you actually take yourself. And if you stay in
Like
a
I said,
fucked up
some people just the
environment,
fuck up by their family. It is what it is.
okay, well that's okay. That's definitely your theory. And I think that's plausible too. Because something makes you stay in that environment. That's real. You got to contend with that. Something made you stay in a fucked up environment.
It's complacency. It's lazy. It's lazy. And if you come from a family where people is just they workers, that's what they do. They work, they provide for their family. They
Right.
try to provide the best for their children. If your ass manage to climb the social economic run, a lot of them folk do not go and do nothing with it. They come back to try to dictate and I'm better than they come back to peacock. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. They come back to peacock rather than continuing to grow and build and be better. That way, instead of peacocking of folk, they can actually be a helping hand
Well,
to
I
these
think some
people.
people can peacock without having any actual achievements, and that's what I would say a lot of people are doing online. They're
Uh-uh.
peacocking without the actual shit. They don't actually have anything. It's
No,
peacocking
they
with
just
nothing.
doing that bullshit. They got. I'm telling you what they got. They got two nickels to rub together. Okay,
And who else? But I'm saying, my question is, how are you so superior? What is that
huh?
based on? I
They think
said,
they superior because they coming from the mind frame that all black folks is broke.
and where did they
They
get
ass
that from?
stupid
And where did they get that from? Is it not from
by
their
playing
environment? Did they
into.
learn that?
They play into stereotypes, or they
I,
let's say they came from a middle class background. Okay, so most middle class people is living probably paycheck to paycheck, or maybe they can skip one or two paychecks, but it ain't nothing high on the house. So maybe you went downstairs one day and the cereal you like went in the cabinet and it just fucks you up real bad. Okay, so now your kids ain't gonna never be without cereal because you done made it. So you better than these niggas.
yeah,
It's,
I just be honest with you. I just don't think any of that's based on actual achievement. None of it. I
but
just
it's
don't think
not.
so.
It is based
Mm-mm.
on money. That's what it is, or their perception of money.
I don't
Their
even see that. I don't even see that though, Queen. I don't see. I mean, when we say money, like you just got a job like everybody else. That's it. You got a job like there's a million truckers in America. It's a million black truckers in America. It's a million people who work a job in America. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever it is that they're doing. They're not doing anything that's so special or different. That's my point.
they
You know,
not
and
doing
I'm
anything
thinking
special.
about
I'm just
Anton
telling you.
Daniels. I'm thinking about Anton Daniels. He gets up there like he's doing something so special. Nigga, you got a chair and you got a rented space, and you claim that you running some multi-million-dollar company that nobody can actually buy a product or service from. And basically, all you sell is information. And you got a bunch of idiots that believe you, and that's where your income comes from. You're a multi-level marketing nigga. That's all you are. That's not special. That's not unique. You're not doing anything above and beyond anybody else. The only thing that makes you different is the fact that you say that you're different. But we have all seen they got Anton Daniels. They already saw he tried to do a business and he failed. So you're not a good businessman. You're a good hustler, but you're not a good businessman. We've already seen he tried to do real estate. No, he had some throwaway properties that wasn't worth shit. Anybody can get some in Detroit. It's not hard, and it didn't go anywhere. He's not some massive developer. He's not doing anything special. He's not gotten any awards. He's not been featured on the top 10 up and coming Fortune 500 CEOs. These people are not CEOs, Queen. They're not CEOs. They're not getting Nobel Peace Prize. They're not done anything spectacular to be talking down to people the way they do. That's my point. They're doing average shit like average people. That's my whole point. It doesn't matter if they got 2 pennies, 10 pennies, or 1 penny. They're not doing anything super spectacular. They working like everybody else. They're not multimillionaires. Not none of them. Not none of these niggas are multimillionaires. You are not doing anything different than anybody else in America. The majority of us are out here working, having small businesses, and surviving from year to year. That's what we're all doing. You're not doing nothing different. That's my whole point. We can go back and forth whether they came from middle class or poor
Yeah,
and
that's not
poverty
what
or
I'm
whatever.
saying. I'm saying they ain't doing nothing
Okay.
special, but this is the thing. When you listen to people, let's say people talk about like pastors and shit, it
Hmm.
is gift of gab that they talk about that they have a problem with. I ain't got to necessarily show you shit if I can talk a good game. If I can present an aesthetic that you will buy into, then you bought this aesthetic. And that's what the fuck they're doing. That's why they
Yeah.
hide behind avatars. That's why I say I don't fucking talk to avatars. Avatars ain't nothing but a whole fucking lie. I don't talk to that shit. Cause people that got something, you might want to be anonymous, but you're gonna be anonymous in a more tasteful way. Not on some troll shit. You're not gonna get up here if you got something to lose. You're not gonna get up here and act like uh your uncle is the goddamn monkey. That's not how
Hmm.
you behave. They behave that way because I'm telling you, it's a. I'm not saying they got no whole lot of money. I'm saying if they come from a family and the average income in this family was $40,000 a year, and these motherfuckers fucked around and got them a job that maybe double that amount, gave them 80,000 to 100, maybe $120,000 a year. It is some niggas, instead of taking that money and continue to build on it, they will go back to their little $40,000 a year ass family and and talk down on them and tell them how much better they are than them and try to nitpick and control them because of what the fuck they got. That's these niggas. They not doing shit. You got a regular ass job. Your
Oh, your voice, your sound went out. Your
am I
sound went
back
out for
yet?
me. Yeah,
Am I
you're back
back?
now. Yes.
Okay. So they got a couple of dollars. What the hell is that? Hold on. What the fuck?
What's wrong?
Something on my phone. What the hell? Hold on.
Okay. But I'll continue to say what I'm saying is, first of all, successful people, they're not constantly worried about people who are at the bottom. They're not going to spend no energy on that, worrying, obsessing about people because they're not good enough to talk down to them. That's not going to happen, first of all. So that tells you a lot right there. Second of all, this is not based on anything. It's a costuming, it's an act, it's fake. And if you look closely, factually, evidence wise, there's nothing there. There's nothing super and amazing. It's not built on nothing. You can't substantiate the talk. It's not based on anything. There's no evidence that a person is super and amazing and above all and better than. They don't even come from an environment that set them up to be that way. So that's bullshit. It's not substantiated. It's not substantiated. It's not based on facts. It's just conversation. I would submit somebody like Anton Daniels. The only thing he's got is his contrariness to blackness and his white supremacist talking points. That's it. Nothing else is. It's just not. He's not better than anybody. He's not doing anything amazing. And the only reason why he gets attention is because he's doing it on a platform and he's got enough people who have self hate to listen to him. People who want to be somebody too. So a lot of this is just costuming, and that's what that comes down to, because a person who would call themselves a coon is clearly not a coon. They're costuming. They're trying to pretend that they had access to an environment they never had access to. And that's just the reality of it. And like I said before, a person who is a natural born coon, that motherfuckers didn't have a choice. They were unaware that, until it was way late in their life, they were not even aware of race. They were born into the environment, they assimilated, and it may have appeared to them and may not. As I had talked to my friend Tony, and please refer to that stream. It's called A Conversation with My Childhood Friend. It's called Growing Up Black in White Utopia. And so for me, I have to be honest, for me, having come from that environment, it wasn't a choice. I didn't get to choose. And in high school, I regretted a lot. I was always like, why couldn't I have gone to the so and so school because they had a better band? And why couldn't I have gone to so and so school? Because at least when they have a damn dance or a party, they playing black music. I had a lot of regret and wishing that I could have had access to what I considered was black and cool, but I didn't. I was stuck where I was stuck. But you'll hear in that conversation, him and I talk about, and I'm coming to a conclusion. You will hear, please go and listen to my conversation with my childhood friend, growing up black in a white utopia. And you will see, and you can hear our experiences, our struggles with identity, our struggles to try to assimilate into black culture, or blackness, something we knew nothing about, how we arrived at our conclusion that we were not white. We thought we were white because we grew up there and we didn't know any better. And that is what it is. And we grew up unaware. And I would never fucking call myself a coon. I chose my blackness, okay? When the time was right, when I became aware of race, I chose my blackness. And I will always choose my blackness, whatever the fuck that is, okay? I choose that. But a natural born coon, a real one, they are never aware. They are completely unaware of race. They are born into environments where they just simply flow with what is, which is a utopia, a sea of whiteness. And they just blend on in, deaf, dumb, and blind, and they just disappear into the sea. Okay. And a self appointed, I'm a coon, is a person who's costuming. They have self hate. They choose this at a later age because they think it'll give them opportunity or recognition or attention. And they wear this coon title, this self-appointed coon title based on nothing, and talk down to Negroes, other black people who are just like them, because it makes them feel better. It makes them feel like they've escaped. It's just a costume. It's just cosplay. It's something they try on for fun. And um, it's self-hate. It's just self-hate. It's just a badge of self-hate. It's not coon. It's not coon. They don't even actually know. A real coon would never call themselves a coon. They would never claim it. So this is my conclusion. The self-appointed coon is just a costumer. Um, okay, so I'm about to end the stream. I'm gonna take Queen's last thoughts and pull her back up. Let me see. May I grew up confused until 23 because I'm in the middle between British society and Pakistani society. I will never truly be accepted by both sides as one of them, but I realize the harsh truth. Young Riaz, you are in the same situation. Same situation. Absolutely. We got the same. I love my people, but I know how they behave. I am multicultural perspective. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. It's true. You'll never fit in your own mind. You'll never fit anywhere perfectly. And you'll always have second thoughts. Absolutely. Right, Riaz, I feel you. Trust me, I do. Okay. I'm gonna invite Queen back up for her last thoughts because I gotta definitely finish my I got all this dill and cilantro shit and chickpeas. I'm about to make hummus for the first time. Okay, Queen, you're back.
Oh, hey,
Queen,
can you
hey,
hear
hey,
me?
you're back. Okay, yeah, I can hear you. So I'm about to conclude because I have got to do this stuff. Um,
Oh,
so go ahead, give us your last thoughts before we conclude. Your last thoughts. Go ahead.
um, my last thoughts is what they normally always are. It's a large demographic of black population that needs to go get some damn therapy, and these people that's running around here calling themselves coons, they need some therapy. Okay, there's some self hate, there's some internalized insecurity, and all that sort of thing, and they need to go get some therapy for it. And after they get some therapy for it, maybe they'll feel better. No, but yeah, you have fun
Good
with your
point.
brothers.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's some deep self hate, and it could just be I'm not good enough. It ain't got nothing to do with race. Maybe I just don't feel good enough in society. Wherever society I belong to, I don't feel good. So this is my way of coping. I agree. I think that's it. And I think it doesn't do anybody harm. Maybe you should strive harder. If you're insecure because you haven't achieved enough, you don't have enough education, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough status among the people you're around, you might want to do some like get your ass off the internet maybe and go get you some business about yourself. Go get you, some new income, some new skills. Maybe you'll feel better. At the end of the day, that's what it's right. You're absolutely right, Queenie. There's insecurity at the root of it. Some kind of mental issue or insecurity or a combination. I agree.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's an insecurity. Anytime you got upper mobility and you think instead of reach back to help, you think you're gonna reach back to dictate or talk down to something, the fuck is wrong.
And maybe that's an addiction. Maybe there's an addiction there. Think about it. If I feel like shit because my real life is not reflecting greatness, and if I get online and I talk shit, oh, you niggas, you bunch of coons, you bunch of not coons, you bunch of monkeys, you bunch of apes. I'm better than everybody, and it makes you feel better in that moment. And for a couple of days, you feel like, yeah, I did that. I got to put that little costume on for a second, and then reality sets in on your daily life, and you're not all that you want to be, and you're not feeling that great when you look around at what you're living like, and then the urge comes again. Oh, I need to spit on people. I need to shit on somebody so I can feel good again. That maybe, what is that called? That hormone that makes people feel good. What is that called? It's in the brain. It's a
Talking
hormone.
about the endorphins.
Yeah, endorphins. There may be some endorphins involved in there. I'm just saying, because people who have depression, and I'm not saying everybody that does this is depressed, but sometimes people, if they have depression, they need spikes of endorphins. They need that feel good, you know, something. And if they get pleasure like that, they get high on their own supply like that. That could be why they keep doing it. That's why they have the cycle. They just don't stop because that's the only way to feel better. It's a quick little jolt of positive hormone. Maybe, I don't know. Actually, I just can't understand it, girl. I can't understand. I can't understand why I would want to just keep talking about something that I'd say I don't like. If I'm really not a part of that world and if that world doesn't matter to me, I just don't know why I would be discussing it. Because like I said before, several of the people that I grew up with that are black that never kind of grew out of their cooning. And I'm not, and when they're cooning, the cooning that I've seen with people I grew up with, they don't talk about race at all. They'll never mention it. They just married white and they got half white kids and they live in white suburbs and they continue the process. And they're post-racial. They don't see race as relevant. They don't ever talk down to black people because they don't care about blackness. They're unaware. They choose to stay unaware, even though the world is clearly probably pointing it out. It's a safe space. It's what they know best. So if those people who are grown up in those environments don't shit and pick and talk about blackness and look down on black people, you got to explain to me how black folks who grew up around black folks do that. It just doesn't make sense. So that's why I say it might be a cycle of endorphins. Huh?
Black people have internalized racism as well. That's why look, I ain't never been fooled. I grew up around black folk. I done seen I ain't gonna say all the black people, but I've seen a good uh sample of black people from the ones I told you. My grandmama lived out there with white folks, worked with white folks, and all of that type of shit. My other grandmama, they lived in black neighborhoods. Both of them was middle class. Well, my maternal side, they was middle class. My grandmama and my grandpa, they was upper middle class. So I done seen all kind of things. Okay, I didn't see the
Mm-hmm.
hood rat. Only thing I had not seen was actual poverty. I've seen poor. I hadn't seen poverty. I didn't see poverty till I was in my 30s. And after I saw poverty, now these niggas don't come from poverty. Poverty is some sad shit. And poverty is something that all of us should be kicking our ass for. Okay. But they ain't none of them come from no damn poverty. You know what I'm saying? The closest person
We
that
we we we
I
we
could
we would only know if, I mean, these are opinions. We would only know that if we actually know all the details. You know what I'm saying? We would only know for a fact. We can have opinions for sure, but we don't know. Either way, we don't know.
No,
The,
no.
we don't
Poverty
know. We
is
don't actually know for a
poverty.
fact. Is all I'm saying. We don't know.
No, because poverty is something that is typically generational, and it's really bad. Like motherfuckers can't
I
read, all kinds of things. It's a whole bunch of horrible shit that goes on inside of poverty. These niggas don't present like poverty or
well,
maybe
I don't know. I don't know.
poverty. No, poverty is some different
I mean,
shit.
that's your opinion. I mean, I respect your opinion, but I think differently. I'm looking at how they behave. I'm looking at that too. Their value system is just
That's
not.
it. And that's the other thing. People that's
I don't
in
want to get
poverty
caught up
don't.
on. I don't want to get caught up on the details though. But that shit, we just see that differently. We just see it
I'm just
differently. That's
saying
all.
that's the thing. That's a stereotype, and that's another thing that ain't true because people that's impoverished don't behave like that. Now they might do some wretched and ghetto shit. The closest thing I can possibly label is maybe came from poverty on this fucking app would be fucking Jay Prince. That motherfucker probably came from some poverty impoverished shit. Maybe. But these niggas ain't
Yeah, I'm
doing
not
no
that
damn
familiar.
poverty.
I'm not that familiar with him. But let me read these couple of comments by Riaz real quick before we go. He says, I don't know if you know young Riaz. He's from Britain, and he's a Pakistani or part Pakistani, I think. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's around a lot. He says he's having had the experience too, so that's what I'm kind of relating to him. He says because in real life I don't think I can relate to the born Pakistanis, and I always be different from the British people. However, I fully embrace the Muslim community who accepted me regardless. He says at 23 years old, I had a conversation with my parents, and it made me fully understand and heal on the journey. Yeah, he says both parents advised for me to be a good Muslim, and that's all they can tell you to do. Is to just move on with your life and be the best. My dad just tells me to strive. He don't got a whole lot of conversation for the blackness and the whiteness and this and that. He don't have a lot for that, but he just keeps telling me to be a person who just moves forward and do the right thing and strive. So he says my father told me that the only culture I will truly know is UK and American culture, and the only Pakistani culture I will know is at home. Wow. At home. Yeah, that's right. What blackness I got from my parents. But, I would say that too. I worry about my daughter, and I try to really, really make her prepared for the environment that she's in. I try my best. And Young Riaz said, good stream. Yeah, that's all you can do, is try to prepare your kids as much as you can for these environments if you're doing the best you can. But anyway, well, Queen, I've got to get going. I want to say I appreciate your input. And for you as a person who has been antagonized by cooning, um, I think it's pathetic. I just want to put that on record. I think it's pathetic. I think it ain't based on shit. I think it's reckless. And I think that your record as a black woman who's married, who's raised a family, who keeps a household intact, and has been doing so consistently, honey, that speaks volumes beyond any bullshit somebody can say about you. And you're an
And that's
educated
why
black
I
woman.
can't be worried about them. Every time that they sit up there and they speak against me and they come against me without merit, they make themselves look stupid. Like you're not making me look bad. You're not triggering me with none of this shit. It's annoying to have to listen to this shit or it come across my
Absolutely.
desk or whatever.
Like I said, you got to look at
But
the
you
receipts
don't
of
make
what people are and what people have done and what people have been consistently. And that is what speaks for everything. That
like yeah,
speaks for everything.
you don't make me look
Huh?
bad. You make yourself look bad because what you're presenting and the things that you are saying, that's not something that you shame or make lies on if you actually come from where you say you come from. That's why I just be like, y'all is stupid. Y'all shoot yourself in the foot and don't even realize. That's why I know you're not going nowhere because the way that they think so rudimentary and they're feeble minded in their behavior. They can't even see that you're not even projecting the shit that you claiming you came from. So everybody know you a fraud.
Yeah, it's a costume. It's clear it's a costume. All that says costume. All of it says costume. And it's a poor
Nobody
choice of
believes this shit.
costume. It's a poor choice of costume. Self hate It's kind of pathetic. It's kind of pathetic, and I hope them brothers grow out of that. I hope they can do better. I want to say this to everybody listening. I'm about to drop down. I really appreciate your feedback and your thoughts, Queen.
Right.
I absolutely appreciate you. I want to say this, y'all. 8 o'clock, me and Clue gonna have a conversation, a come to Jesus moment. We'll see how that goes. I'm open. I'm gonna listen. I'm not emotional, or I'm not gonna badger him or whatever. I really want to see what he has to say. He asked me some questions the other day, and he wanted to understand why I have a new perspective. And I have to be honest, my perspective was informed by new information. New information made me look at folk strange and different. Um, that's all I can tell you. Because some stuff you think you're being funny, and then you start saying, "Was that for real?" It's not really funny. Now it's looking different. That's a problem. Anyway, y'all tune in at 8 o'clock. Myself and Clue will have a conversation, and I will leave after we have a conversation towards the end. I will leave the stream open for commentary, a conversation. We need to talk about cooning, y'all. The reason why we need to talk about cooning is because we are in a time right now where people are popping coon. Everybody popping out, want to be a coon. Everybody want to play coon. All these Rat-Coons around here. And I think it's just people who, in their later age, are making a choice to display self-hate as a badge of honor to make up for the lack of what they would like to be. That's what I think. Those are just my opinions. And I have to say this. Everything is just my opinion. And everybody has one. Ashe.